Welcome to Wallace and Wire. There's been quite a discussion swirling around, well, a significant decision by Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim concerning an allocation of a substantial sum to Palestine.
The RM100M figure?
Exactly. And Tan Lam Thye, as chairman of the Community Security Alliance, he's voiced some very strong reservations about it.
He certainly has. It's really brought this whole debate about national priorities into sharp focus, hasn't it?
It really has. We want to unpack why this particular decision has sparked such an immediate and intense debate.
Looking at it from different angles, right? What does national interest even mean in these situations?
So, the starting point. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim announces this decision. Allocate 100 million ringgit to the people in Gaza, Palestine. Humanitarian aid.
Which, let's be clear, is a considerable amount of money for Malaysia. A really significant sum.
No question. And what was striking was how quickly Tan Lam Thye, representing the Community Security Alliance, stepped forward.
Almost immediately.
Yeah, expressing clear disapproval. His main point, as he put it, is that using taxpayer money, that much of it, this way, it's unreasonable, illogical even.
Especially given, as he sees it, the situation here at home.
Right. He's highlighting that fundamental tension, in governance.
And it's the directness of his critique that's quite noteworthy. He's not just sort of quibbling about the number itself.
No, it's more fundamental than that.
Exactly. It's the principle. The very idea of using public funds for this purpose when, in his view, there are so many pressing issues domestically.
It goes beyond just economics then.
Oh, absolutely. It touches on, like, a deeper philosophy of government, doesn't it? How resources get prioritized. Where does the primary responsibility lie?
He's essentially arguing for a Malaysia-first approach with taxpayer money.
Which really brings that tension to the forefront, our own immediate needs versus these broader, global responsibilities.
Absolutely. And Lam Thye's stance is quite firm on this. He keeps emphasizing this RM100M, it belongs to Malaysian taxpayers.
That's his core premise.
Yeah. And he points out, look, our economy is still facing serious challenges. Lots of industries are struggling.
Which is true. There are definitely economic headwinds.
And it's not just big picture stuff. He brings up something we hear quite often, actually. Members of parliament complaining they don't have enough allocation for their own areas.
For their constituencies, yeah. Which affects local development, basic services, things people see every day.
It makes the argument very concrete, doesn't it? Connects this big number to local impact.
Precisely. And, when we talk about a government's fiduciary duty...
That legal and ethical obligation.
Right. To act in the best financial interests of the people who provide the funds, the taxpayers. Lam Thye's argument leans heavily on that.
Prioritize your own citizens first when spending their money.
That's the gist of it.
Yeah.
He's voicing a sentiment that probably resonates with a lot of Malaysians. If there is extra money.
If it's available.
Shouldn't it go towards fixing the problems people face daily? Right here.
Education, healthcare, cost of living. It's about the greatest good for the greatest number, but within our borders first, in his view.
And he didn't just keep it general. He got specific, which I think made his point stronger.
He did. He listed actual areas.
Yeah, areas within Malaysia that he argues need this money urgently. He talked about ordinary Malaysians struggling economically.
Which many are.
And specifically mentioned sectors like education, healthcare, and, pointedly, the need to improve efficiency in government hospitals.
Ah, the hospitals. That's a big one. Something many people have direct experience with, unfortunately.
Exactly. It makes the argument very tangible, very relatable, saying, look, this is where the need is felt directly.
And that perspective really does underline the real-world impact of these decisions. Where does the money go?
Yeah. Education, healthcare, these aren't just abstract budget lines. They affect people's lives, their future.
It directly challenges that idea that there's somehow spare cash lying around when basic services might be struggling. Like public hospitals facing issues or schools needing more resources.
So his case is that the taxpayer money would create more immediate direct benefit if it stayed here, addressing these critical needs, improving the lives of Malaysians directly.
But it's important to clarify, he wasn't arguing against all humanitarian aid, full stop.
No, he drew a distinction, didn't he?
He did. A very specific line. He suggested, look, if donations came from, say, government-linked companies.
GLCs.
Or private companies, fine. That's acceptable. But using taxpayer money for this, he felt, was unwise.
So the source of the funds was key for him.
And then he brought in the international comparison. He noted that many wealthy Middle Eastern countries, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, they haven't made similar large direct commitments to Gaza.
That's an interesting point he raised.
Which led him to suggest maybe our government should, think carefully, exercise caution before making these big financial commitments.
That distinction he makes is critical, I think, between public funds and other sources like GLCs or private donations.
It calls for a more nuanced approach, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely. And the comparison with other wealthier nations in the region, that's quite thought-provoking. It makes you ask, what's the geopolitical thinking here?
Right. Is it about our capacity, our diplomatic aims, or something else?
His point sort of subtly asks our government to weigh not just our own domestic needs, which are clear, but also our relative position globally.
Especially when those domestic needs feel so urgent to many.
Exactly. What makes Malaysia's role unique here compared to others? Why this level of commitment from public funds?
That's a key point. But we should also acknowledge the other side of this, right? Any decision like this triggers debate.
Of course. There's always another perspective.
Those supporting the Prime Minister's move might argue there's a moral case. Malaysia as a responsible global citizen responding to a humanitarian crisis.
Especially given certain historical or religious connections.
Right, and they might point to potential long-term diplomatic goodwill, perhaps, or argue that 100 million, while large, is still a small fraction of the total budget.
Justifiable for its symbolic value and impact on the world stage.
It's that constant balancing act, isn't it? Immediate, tangible needs versus these less tangible, maybe longer-term international gains. Leaders have to make that call.
Exactly right. And that's a classic dilemma in public policy, isn't it? How do you balance that compassionate pull toward global issues?
Against the very real, immediate duties you have to your own citizens, the people facing challenges right here, right now.
It's never straightforward. These decisions involve weighing morality, diplomacy, practical realities.
And the direct needs of the taxpayers who fund the government.
It really shines a light on that ongoing tension. Global citizenship versus national stewardship.
Yeah.
How do leaders define impact in those different spheres?
Every nation, every leader has to find their own line.
Yeah, and that line probably shifts depending on values, circumstances, and just the pressing realities of the day. It's a tightrope.
So reflecting on Lam Thye's strong arguments about this RM100 million for Palestine and the whole discussion it sparked.
It leaves us with that fundamental question.
When a nation feels that call for global compassion, how do its leaders truly weigh that against the very concrete, very immediate needs of their own people?
Is there even a right answer? A fixed formula?
Or is it always going to be this dynamic negotiation, shaped by the specific moment, the specific country? Something for all of us to think about, perhaps, as we watch future policy choices unfold. We hope this look at the different perspectives has given you a clearer picture of just how complex these national decisions can be. Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.